Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. Everybody watching us on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Welcome in to the Monday edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You can follow us at Joe Gaither6 on all the social media machines. Send us your likes, comments, questions, queries, and complaints. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you got for us. You can find it on all the social media platforms at Joe Gaither6. We're going to have a fun show today. Hopefully, we're going to have a fun show today. We are going to talk about Alabama's victory. Victory? Ooh, it was a weird game on Saturday. Alabama defeating. I know a lot of people felt like Alabama lost, but no, the Crimson Tide won on Saturday, beating Arkansas 24-20. So we are going to break down what we saw in Bryant-Denny Stadium right here on the program. So we appreciate everybody who's jumped in and joined us. You can always like, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Make sure that you follow our other BamaCentral Broadcasting Network podcast, Blue Collar Unplugged, with our friends Blake Byler, Matthew Gibson, and Jacob Pickle. Basketball season right around the corner. Wednesday will likely be a heavy basketball show due to its SEC Media Basketball Days. So we're going to find out all about the Crimson Tide basketball team on Wednesday with Nate Oates, Aaron Estrada, and Mark Sears. It's going to be a lot of fun on Wednesday. On tomorrow's program, we're going to be joined by my friend Tyler White. Down. Let's see. I never remember his call signs, and I should have looked it up beforehand. Tyler White TV. Let's find myself out. Yeah. My man, let's see. Oh, no, that's an incorrect. But we're going to be joined by Tyler White tomorrow, who is shooting for a television station in Alabama, former intern and student of mine at UA. He's going to join me tomorrow on the program to talk about his experience in Bryant-Denny Stadium. So it's going to be a fun week. We're going to obviously find a Tennessee writer or a Tennessee somebody who covers Tennessee later in the week to talk about this week's game with the Vols, the third Saturday in October. Obviously a big week for a lot of you guys. Everybody feels some kind of way about the Tennessee Vols, just like I do as well. Being from Chattanooga is a very interesting game, very fun game. It's going to be Tyler White. He's the sports director of WDHN News. WDHN News is at the Wiregrass, so we're going to down in Dothan. So he'll be joining us tomorrow on the program. All right, what are we going to do? Let's get into some takeaways. Let's get into some observations from this weekend's win against the Arkansas Razorbacks. Obviously, it was at 11 a.m. game. Alabama wins 24-21. And if you heard the Football Friday show with Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon, you know that Katie Wyndham and myself were on the team Alabama covers, 20 points. And for a while in the ballgame, it looked like that was going to be the case, even with the slow start. And Alabama, was slow and seemed like they fell asleep at halftime in the locker room as well. Got to give a lot of credit to my man, Austin Hannon. Austin Hannon joining us always on Football Friday as well. Had Arkansas plus the points. He did say that Alabama would win, so he was all over that, and that's what ended up happening. 24-21, the Arkansas side covers. But yeah, goodness gracious. I knew that the 11 o'clock game was not going to be really fun for the fans, not really going to be fun for the viewers. It was a lot of fun to be in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun to be there. I appreciate everybody hosting us, and the breakfast in Bryant-Denny Stadium was very good. But, God, the football was ugly. The football was really disgusting. They ended up, obviously, Alabama, 2 3-and-outs right in a row. 2 3-and-outs right in a row, and Arkansas drives not the length of the field, but drives enough for 2 big field goals, goes up 6-0. And obviously 6-0 is not that big of a deal, but it was just a sign that Alabama wasn't ever really awake for this ball game. Nick Saban earlier in the week talking about, we got to respect everybody, the importance of nothing. We talked about that last week. He talked about really Arkansas being better than their record, which I think they were. I do think they acquitted themselves as being better than their record. I know that was one of the late in the week conversations last week, and I thought that they weren't. But no, I think that they were better than their record. Now, I don't think that they're a good football team, and so Alabama's result against Arkansas was really disappointing to see. But I do think that they were better than 2-4. Now 2-5, obviously now on a 5-game losing streak. We'll see if Sam Pittman holds on to his job, but I think that they did acquit themselves playing hard. They played above their talent level. But Alabama just never really showed up. The Crimson Tide, slept walk through, and they were about to go 3-and-out for a third straight time had Arkansas not busted a coverage. And Alabama, Jalen Milroe finds Kobe Prentice for a 79-yard touchdown pass that really kind of broke the momentum that Arkansas was building. Made it 7-6, and things started to work in Alabama's favor after that. I think that, the game was more about Arkansas's mistakes and Arkansas not playing well than Alabama playing well. You look at the couple of touchdowns, touchdowns that Alabama scored, the over the top to Kobe Prentice. It was a total busted coverage by the Razorbacks. The safety jumps up on Amari Niblack, even though it looked like the linebacker had him on an underneath coverage. And Kobe Prentice goes over the top, and Kobe Prentice is wide open down the field. So boom, Jalen Milroe, give him credit, absolutely where it's due. He hits the 79-yarder over the top to Kobe Prentice, and Prentice works his way running, kind of zigzagging the rest of the way down the field to avoid the pursuing defenders. All right, great athletic play there by Alabama. Great athletic play there by Jalen Milroe and Kobe Prentice linking up together. But more about, thank you so much, Cameron Rossi, watching us on the Twitter, on the Facebook machine. Appreciate you checking in with us today. Hope you're having a great week. You guys can do the same at Joe Gaither 6 on the Facebook machine. It's more about Arkansas's mistakes than it was Alabama's really dominance. You get the busted coverage right there. And yes, credit Milroe and Prentice for their great athletic plays. But really just ugly play all throughout the game. You get the other touchdown pass to Amari Niblack from Milroe to Niblack across the formation into the end zone. And what happened? What happened was a running back occupied a far left side, a far right side, deep third defender that never really saw Amari Niblack coming into his zone, a safety blitzing for Arkansas. And yes, Jalen Milroe hits the pass and takes the hit and completes the ball. So yes, credit for Milroe there, credit for Niblack there. But it's more about Arkansas busting the coverage than Alabama making a good play. Now it's, what is it? 6 one way, half a dozen the other. What came first, the chicken or the egg? You can decide what side of the aisle you want to fall on. But in those particular plays, which were the two biggest plays for Alabama's offense in the game, besides the Ja'Cory Brooks, probably third and 16 play that ended up as a first down, Ja'Cory Brooks' best play in the passing game this season. And you had a deep shot to Jermaine Burton again this past week. Golly, Jermaine Burton. You saw good Burton and bad Burton again this week with his jawing at the opposing defenders. It was more about Arkansas just playing hard, but leaving a couple gaps, leaving a couple empty spots that Alabama filled, and ultimately Alabama wins the game 24-21. But it was just, you walked away not feeling good. You went into the locker room at what? You went into the locker room at, oh gosh, I just had it. My game time right there. Yeah, you went into the locker room at 21-6, and you're feeling like, okay, you're getting the ball coming out of halftime. You go down the field, you score a touchdown, you make it 28-6. You basically ice this game. You made it 28-6, then boom, you're recovering your spread, and everybody's feeling good, going home happy. Wasn't necessarily the case. Alabama came out and went 3-and-out again. Arkansas went 3-and-out again. Alabama drives the length of the field in the third quarter, and it was just like, okay, here we go. It's coming. The running game was coming. You had big runs by Roydell Williams, big runs by Justice Haynes and Jam Miller. Okay, you're moving down the field, and then you got, 3rd and 4 in the red zone. 3rd and 4 in the red zone. You've been running the ball the whole daggone drive, and you have to go to a pass play, and pressure comes, and Milroe misses, and you have to take a field goal. And granted, thank you, Will Riker, making your field goal, making it 24-6. Will Riker becoming the all-time leader in SEC in points in the SEC. Great job. Woohoo. Will Riker getting that record, but was he the most impressive kicker on the field? No. Cam Little, the Arkansas kicker, making a 55-yarder with absolute ease, and then converting on I have 49 yards for his second field goal. Cam Little was very, very impressive. But no, Will Reichert, great. You're up 24-6, and you think this thing is still rolling. You're almost at the cover. You're almost at the full control, total control, and then Arkansas goes and beats you 15-3 the rest of the way. 15-0 the rest of the way. 15-0 the rest of the way, all on miscues, missed assignments, communication errors, just problems on the Alabama side. It really never felt like Alabama was fully awake in the game. I know 11 a.m. game, and I'm sure the guys were in bed early in the Capstone Hotel right across the street from Malmore Athletic Complex. I'm sure that they all got their good sleep and everybody got up early, but it just never seemed like they were into the game. It seemed like they were basically not really respecting the intensity that Arkansas was going to bring, the effort that Arkansas was going to bring. In the early going, I mean, you basically dominated the second quarter, and outside of that, it was pretty much Arkansas's game. It was. Arkansas, Arkansas played 3 good quarters. Alabama only played the second quarter very, very well, and it's just not what you want to see. Now, why? Why does this happen? You think about, okay, you had to get up for a big game at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, you beat Texas A&M. You're first in the SEC West. It's going to be a huge environment. 2:30, everybody's yelling at you. They've got one of the best defensive lines in the country. They're going to come for your neck. Obviously, that takes a lot of energy to get up for Texas A&M. And there were problems in the A&M game that showed themselves in the Arkansas game as well, but the talent level was much different. And so, okay, you sandwich Arkansas in between, and my man James Ludeman just hits it, in between A&M and Tennessee. Tennessee coming to town this week. Everybody knows what Tennessee's bringing to the table. Everybody knows what happened last year. The Tennessee fans, the Tennessee environment was very, very intense and very nasty. I think Cameron Rossi is hitting it right there on the Facebook side. It probably does come off as a bit of a trap game. Alabama, I don't want to say disrespected Arkansas, but they never had a killer instinct. They never came out with, we're just going to seize this game and not let Arkansas into it. Now, look, you're up 24-6 and you feel like things are rolling, and the gas pedal, the guys, the offense, the defense, everyone totally let off the gas. Disappointing to see. It is disappointing to see. But look, big picture, Alabama wins. Alabama takes another victory, another step forward, another step towards Atlanta with the win. So, okay, big picture, you win, you move on. This Alabama football team has seemed like it's going to be a work in progress every single week. Every week is going to be a little bit of an adventure, and you want to see steps going forward, but every week's going to present new challenges, as this week will present a much different challenge as well. But I think that, look, take us back to 2011. Take us back to 2009, 2008. You Alabama fans would have been thrilled with, oh man, we just got to 6-1. I know Arkansas came back and we didn't play a good second half, but we're still 6-1. We're on the right track. Everything's right in front of us for the SEC title. So, like, you got to balance a little bit of the entitlement, a little bit of the Alabama expectations with a little dose of reality as well. I think that Alabama didn't play well. I think you'd be a fool to say that they did. And anyone who's going to sit here and lie to you saying that Alabama did play well is doing exactly that, lying. I think that Alabama, what you saw on Saturday was the athletic ability of Jalen Milroe connecting with the receivers, an open field over to Kobe Prentice and over to Amari Nyblack, and a big play to to Burton, and a big play to Ja'Cory Brooks. Bond never really got in the ball game. What you saw was athletic ability and just enough inconsistency / consistency of hitting big plays to win the game. You like to see the tush push. That was a lot of fun. That was very, very cool to see on the goal line, taking a page out of the Philadelphia Eagles playbook and getting big body Jalen Milroe into the end zone. Cameron's hitting it. I can't believe that we are first in the West with this year's performance. It really shows you, I think the SEC is fairly down this year. And Alabama is really just working its way through each and every week. And so, therefore, you're still in position. You're at number 11 in the overall in the AP poll. Again, I know you want to move up in the AP poll, but still, you're in position to win the ball, to win each and every game. Even the Texas game that you lost, you were right there in position, leading in the fourth quarter to win the game. Just little things here and there. And it's just going to be kind of a work in progress. And I do think it's kind of the new age college football with the transfer portal and NIL kind of seeping in and dissipating the talent throughout college football and dissipating the depth throughout college football. So here we go. Bad offensive line, 5 sacks allowed. Oh my gosh. You have to figure that out. You have to figure it out. Alabama's given up 4 sacks in every game, 4 or more sacks in every single game except for the MTSU game. Yes, even South Florida had 4 or more. You had 4 or more against Texas, South Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State last week, 2 weeks ago against A&M, and last week against the Hogs. 5 sacks against the Hogs. And it's not going to get any easier. Not going to get any easier as Tennessee comes to town, 3rd in the nation in sacks. Now, so you can look at that on the surface and say, oh my gosh, they're 3rd in the nation in sacks. They're going to come tear us apart. They might. That absolutely might come into play. But you look at who's 2nd in the nation in sacks. Oh, it's Texas A&M. Alabama's already taken care of them. Oh, who's 5th in the nation in sacks? Ole Miss. Oh, Alabama's already taken care of them. Now, a little bit of that is, well, they played Alabama and they got 4 and 6 sacks respectively, so they jumped way up in the sack total rankings. So what's Tennessee going to do since they haven't played Alabama yet? It's going to be a concern. Golly, your left tackle position. I usually choose to play patient. I usually choose to play, positive. I usually try to say these guys are trying and working hard. Okay, great. And I do believe they're working hard and trying hard. But you're not seeing the week-to-week improvement out of the left tackle position, whether it's Caden Proctor or whether it's Elijah Pritchett. Caden Proctor getting beat around the edge by the Arkansas defender. What did he have? 3.5 sacks. That was a young man from Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson earned himself co-defensive lineman of the week, SEC co-defensive lineman of the week for 11 total tackles, 7 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 3.5 tackles for loss. Tortured Caden Proctor. Tortured him. And really even tortured Elijah Pritchett, whether it was, I'm going to beat you outside twice. Oh, I've already beat you outside. Let me cut inside. Coach Saban talking about it a little bit today in the Naylor Stone media room. Some of it is on ability, but he said more of it is on miscommunication. Said, okay, if you're sliding the line to the left and you have inside protection, why are you getting beat to the inside? Or if you have inside protection, go ahead and play more to the outside. Stop that outside rush because you've got help coming to the inside. So really, it's a mental thing with this offensive line. Caden Proctor giving up 2 sacks, Elijah Pritchett giving up 2 sacks, and my man Justice Haynes. Everybody's been asking, where's Justice Haynes? Why isn't he getting the football? Got absolutely run right into Jalen Milroe on a sack, just taken right back into the quarterback. And has he shown flashes of being a good running back? Yes, he has shown flashes of being able to carry the football and make some plays with the ball in his hands. But it's about much more than that from the running back position. You have to make the blocks. You have to step up and stop the oncoming blitzer. And Justice Haynes really got to hand it to him this past weekend in that category. So you got to be better. You absolutely have to be better. Now the beautiful side or the ugly side of the same coin is the fact that Alabama is still winning these games. You put up 24 points against Ole Miss. You put up 24 points against Arkansas. You put up 26 points against Texas A&M. You probably would have put up more if your boy Dallas Turner doesn't get called for a blindside block against A&M. So you are taking all these sacks, and it is putting your offense behind the sticks and setting your offense behind schedule. But you've seen 2 weeks ago against Texas A&M, the passing game down to Burton. Burton over his defender a number of times. And Milroe did get the deep passing game going a little bit against Arkansas. The problem was this. 2 weeks ago against Texas A&M, Milroe comes out in the second half and hits some underneath intermediate routes that really allowed the offense to continue to stay on schedule. Bond got himself several underneath intermediate routes, Nye Black as well, and it basically brought the defense back up and opened things up for Jermaine Burton. What happened this past week against Arkansas? Oh my gosh, painful to see, painful to watch. Jalen Milroe missing high on a lot of his passes in the second half. A lot of his underneath passes in the second half, whether he's making the right reads or not, you guys can agree or disagree. I think largely he is, but you're standing in the pocket. You're not stepping up. You're not taking a step forward, throwing into stepping into your pass, as has been Jalen Milroe's, bugaboo issue in the passing game. And he misses high. He's throwing high. And you could say, oh, well, the receivers are getting their hands to it. They should be catching the football. Okay, sure, they should be. But it's still, Jalen Milroe can bring the ball down about 2 feet on each of these passes and make it a much more catchable football, and you'd stay on schedule. You missed a lot of passes over the heads of your receivers, and thus junking up the offense, forcing James Byrne up onto the field early and staying off schedule, being behind the sticks. So, look, I want to see more out of Milroe. I know a lot of people are complaining about his inability to read the field or his inability to feel the rush. I don't necessarily think that is as valid a criticism. I think that, there's certainly aspects of that that's valid. But I do think that, goodness gracious, don't you want him to not throw the football into danger? Don't you want him to feel comfortable about where he's throwing the ball? I think that when he has decided to throw the football, when he's decided this guy's my target, I'm throwing it to him, more often than not, it's to an open man or a man that's about to be open. It's about delivering the football with confidence, putting it right on your man, and getting it to a place where they can catch it. Milroe has had a tendency to throw the ball a little high all year long, and that goes into his poor mechanics. Now, the mechanics are better than they were last year. They are. But still has a mile and change to go. He still sits back there, throwing it off the back foot, sits back there, not stepping through, not pointing his shoulder at his target, all throwing darts, trying to play darts on the dartboard with the receivers out there. And thus, I think that sometimes that results in high passes that are uncatchable, or passes that require great athleticism to catch. All right. So keeping it rolling, and I see all your comments. I'll address all the comments at towards the end once I wrap up all my points. I only have a couple of points left on this game, and we'll talk about SEC observations. But in between the game and SEC observations, I'll hit Cameron Rossi and James Ludeman's comments here and answer some of these questions. All right. So give Arkansas, more Arkansas mistakes. Bust for Kobe Prentice, bust on Amari Nybike. Yep, those were already hit. We talked about Will Reichert, all-time points leader for the SEC. Cam Little was more impressive to me for sure. Here we go, KJ Jefferson. KJ Jefferson earned my respect this past weekend. I was on the side of Andy Hodges from allhogs.com, who joined us last Thursday to talk about this coming up week's game. This past week's game. And he said, KJ Jefferson can't read a defense. And I agreed with him largely, and I thought that he was, a good little athlete. But KJ Jefferson kept Arkansas in the game. He didn't make the detrimental play. He didn't make the play that, here's the interception that sets up the Alabama offense for the backbreaking score. He didn't fumble the football. Oh, my gosh, his play against Terrion Arnold. I love you, Terrion Arnold, but goodness gracious, that was just a one-on-one play that KJ Jefferson absolutely won. What he manhandled our man Terrion Arnold. From a defensive perspective, Kevin Steele and Travaris Robinson called a perfect blitz. A perfect blitz went right in on KJ Jefferson. Jefferson kind of caught Terrion Arnold and threw him right off of him. He was 14 of 24, only 150 yards passing. Got to remind you guys of that. It was only really the 2 drives where they scored touchdowns that he moved the football. Outside of that, it was only, a couple of scramble here, a run there. he didn't get a whole lot of help. The first drive of the game, Arkansas went 3 and out. Jefferson puts the ball right on his receiver's hands. The receiver drops it. Would have been a first down, would have kept Arkansas going. Didn't get a whole lot of help. Only 150 yards, 2 touchdowns for KJ. Officially 14 carries for 26 yards. Now that includes the sack yardage that he took, the 3 sacks that he took in the ballgame. But he broke away and made several athletic plays. Is he the best quarterback in the SEC? No, he's not. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not Carson Beck. He's not Jackson Dart even, I don't even think. But he's a pretty good little quarterback, and obviously he's the only thing the Razorbacks have going for them. Really and truly, without Rocket Sanders didn't play the ball game. He is their best offensive player by far. So KJ, got to give you a little flowers. I walked into the week thinking that you weren't really that good, and I know that the numbers, you've accumulated a lot of good numbers throughout the course of your career at Arkansas, but I never really thought that you were dangerous or dynamic quarterback. He proved to be a handful this past weekend. He definitely proved to be a handful and earned my respect. Not that my respect is worth a whole lot to any of these SEC athletes, but if you're listening to the Joe Gaither Show, KJ Jefferson, you got my respect, and I hope that you have a good rest of your career at Arkansas. Only going to be a couple more games left for you over at Arkansas. You're going to have to win a lot of them to earn bowl eligibility. I'm pulling for you. I think that you played the game the right way, played the game hard, led your team, and kept your team in the game. Played smart. So, KJ, you earned my respect. Flowers to you and the Arkansas Razorbacks. All right, let's go into Jalen Key. Jalen Key and Caleb Downs are earning bad penalties. Now, Caleb Downs, not as bad penalty in my opinion. But Jalen Key, you're off the field. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. You're off the field on 3rd and 8. You're off the field. You've made the stop. Now you're on the sidelines jawing and playing, doing what you're doing with the Arkansas Razorback receiver. And you're grabbing his face mask and pulling it, earning a 15-yard penalty, and putting their butts right back on the field. What are you doing? I'm sorry. I understand trash talk happens. Emotions happen. But you're off the field. You have made the stop. Arkansas is next up to punt. But no, you've got to show your big nuts. You've got to show your, cojones on the sidelines. You've got to show how big and strong you are, how macho man you are. And granted, I know it's a violent sport. A lot of emotions are running high. Everything is, who's going to be the bigger man? Who's going to be tougher? This, that, and the other. But between the white lines is where you need to leave it. Between the whistles is where you need to leave it. You have made the stop. That's what's so daggum frustrating. If it was just, he face masked a guy trying to make a tackle. Okay. All right. That's an effort play. And yes, you got to be better than that, but it's a little more excusable, a little more forgivable. But no, the play is bleeping over. The play is over. You're on the sidelines and y'all are just jawing at one another. And you literally gift the Razorbacks a first down. Gift them a first down and field position. And what happens after that? KJ Jefferson rips off a 23-yard scramble while Justin Aboigbe is right in his face. Golly, how many times did Alabama have men right in Jefferson's face ready to sack him? Unfortunately, Jefferson breaks free and gets him some yards. Unfortunate. And really, I mean, the scramble is one thing, but the penalty is another. The penalty is absolutely another. Okay, and so you move on down the field. You move on down the field. Caleb Downs gets called for a pass interference on 3rd down that would have forced another Arkansas field goal. Yes, they were in field goal range. I don't hate it as much as Jalen Key because, look, 1, you get a little bit more of a pass as a freshman in my book. But 2, you're trying to play the pass. You didn't get your head around. You played through the man. You played through the receiver, and you drew a pass interference penalty. That stuff happens. That's just part of football. And while you do want to be better, absolutely whip your head around and play the ball, not the man. You do want to be better. It's not as egregious as the Jalen Key penalty after the play. All right, so Arkansas rips off a touchdown, and boom, they have new life. They go from 24-6 to 24-13, new life for the Hogs, and thus the game is really back on. This drive really reminded me a lot of the final drive for Texas A&M in last week, in 2 weekends ago's game. A&M's down what? 17, 17-26. So they're down 9 there, and so they're basically they're trying to muster up a drive that was aided by a roughing the passer and a defensive holding, and boom, a big missed tackle. Sounds very, very similar to what happened on this Arkansas drive. 2 penalties and a big missed tackle, and Arkansas is down the field. 2 penalties and a big missed tackle, and A&M is down the field. And granted, Alabama bowed up in the red zone and forced a field goal against Texas A&M. They did not against Arkansas. So it's an issue. It's definitely an issue. Now, I do think the defense has been super strong this year. Has been a lot of fun to watch this year. Has really been intimidating to see and fun to watch from a defensive perspective. You get that cheetah package out there. The 2023 cheetah package is so much better than the 2022 cheetah package. Sorry, Will Anderson. But no, it's a lot better with Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner, Quandarius Robinson. You either throw in Justin Aboigbe or Jamarian Latham out there as your defensive lineman. You got Deontay Lawson either coming off the edge, and then Caleb Downs steps in and plays kind of that inside interior linebacker. It's amazing to watch the versatility of Caleb Downs, and that's really my next point. Caleb Downs, the Alabama defensive back issues without Malachi Moore. Malachi Moore didn't play. Now he warmed up. He looked fine in warm-ups to me from the press box perspective, and he looked like, he could play, but why risk him? You should beat Arkansas without him. You heard me say that throughout the entire week last week. You should beat Arkansas without Malachi Moore. And yes, they did beat Arkansas without Malachi Moore. But what'd you do? What did you do on the defensive side of the ball? You played Terrion Arnold, and you played Caleb Downs at the star position. And so when Terrion Arnold comes in and plays the star, he moves from outside corner to inside star corner, and you put Trey Amos out there. What ends up happening, you put in Caleb Downs as the star, you leave Terrion Arnold back out there as outside cornerback, and Christian Story comes into the game. So 2 guys that haven't really gotten to play a whole lot this year, Christian Story and Trey Amos. And I do like Christian Story, Lynette native, Alabama native. He is the all-time, second now. He's second all-time in HSAA career touchdowns, Lynette High School. And he really hasn't gotten a whole lot of opportunity to play with the Alabama Crimson Tide. I've always wanted to see Christian Story ascend into a role. Trey Amos, big time transfer from University of Louisiana, from ULL, Raging Cajuns. You thought he was going to, challenge to Terrion Arnold or challenge Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think the communication was a little bit lacking on the back end without Malachi Moore. Now, you won the game? Yes, you held Arkansas to 150 yards passing. So that's a pretty good number. But your touchdown pass, your second touchdown pass from KJ Jefferson to the running back, Dubinion, I believe, was on a total pick play, which, all right, it's kind of legal in college football these days. We're used to playing pick plays. How do you play a pick play on the goal line? You guys know it if you're watching any sort of Alabama football. You banjo coverage. The inside man takes the inside route. The outside man sits and carries the outside route. Boom. It's it's not easy, but it is something that Alabama has done forever and ever and ever. So what ends up happening? What happens on the touchdown pass, the second touchdown pass? The outside receiver runs a slant post, shallow post into Deontay Lawson, who had the running back going out of the backfield. Well, what do? Trey Amos, you pass off the slant into Deontay Lawson, and you carry the running back out on the wheel route. No, did not happen. Trey Amos carries the slant into the interior of the defense, junks up Deontay Lawson. Deontay Lawson can't get over the top of the pick, the 2-man pick at this point now, since Trey Amos is following him in there, and KJ Jefferson has a wide open touchdown pass to Dubinion. And you can see right there after the touchdown pass, Deontay Lawson giving the banjo sign to Trey Amos. So, Trey Amos, he's a good player. He's going to be a good player. He's very talented. But if you have Malachi Moore out there, and that becomes Terrion Arnold and Deontay Lawson pass it back and forth between themselves, you're not going to get picked like that. I'm confident of it. Maybe I'm just uber confident in Terrion Arnold, but I am confident that the communication, the technique of passing the receiver off to the inside man and carrying the outside receiver out would have been carried out, and thus Arkansas would still be trying to throw the football right there. Instead, KJ Jefferson had an easy touchdown pass. His second touchdown pass much easier than the first on just a poorly executed defensive play. So was it terrible? No, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't by any means good. You give the guys a C plus. I mean, obviously it's not an F because you didn't lose, but you can't give them an A at any level. I'm sorry, you don't give the offensive line an A because of the 5 sacks. Now you'd like to give them a good grade because you ran the football. You ran the football better than you've run the football all year long. What'd you end up with running the football on my game comparison? Right, Alabama 177 yards rushing the football. Great. You want to give the offensive line an A for that, but don't. You take away the 5 sacks, and it's closer to a C plus, maybe a B minus, but a C plus. C. It's not good. You give Jalen Milroe, oh man, you hit the 2 touchdown passes and you got the tush push, all 3 touchdowns on your account. Oh, that sounds like an A. You didn't turn the football over. That sounds like an A plus. But no, the misses in the second half, keeping Alabama off schedule, not being able to really own the second half, knocks you down. Maybe I give Jalen Milroe probably closer to a B minus. And then maybe you knock some points off Jalen Milroe because of the sacks that he created himself. C plus. Again, not good. Were the wide receivers impressive? No, not really. You got 1 good catch out of Burton. You got 1 good catch out of Ja'Cory Brooks. You obviously got the huge catch out of Kobe Prentice, but just not that consistent, not that good. Would it have been better if Milroe was delivering the football a little bit lower, a little bit more catchable? Yes, certainly. So receivers, you give them probably about a B. Total offense, no, you give the running backs a pretty good day on the whole, probably about a B plus. So boom, you take the B plus for the running backs, you take the B for the wide receivers, you take the B minus C plus for Jalen Milroe, you take the C plus for the offensive line, you roll all that together, and your grade for the offense is about what, a 79, 80, 81, right in that range, maybe 78. Not good, not really good, and not really championship level. Good enough, sure. C's get degrees. Woohoo! I played that game throughout my college tenure. C's get degrees, but not championships. You ain't getting on the dean's list. You're not getting on the president's list with a 78, 79 grade. Now on the defensive side of the ball, you're rocking and rolling most of the game, but you have detrimental penalties. You don't secure many sacks. You should have gotten, oh my gosh, there was 3-4 sacks that Alabama could have gotten, but just were unable to finish the play. Certainly some of that is KJ Jefferson's athleticism, but just not that efficient, not that aggressive, not really finishing the game off. When you're up 24-6, you should be the Alabama Anaconda should be sucking the life out of their opponent at 24-6. Instead, Arkansas finds a way to escape the grip of the Anaconda and turn it into somewhat of a fight towards the end of the game. Now, you liked really a pivotal point towards the end of the game. Arkansas is trying to complete the comeback as 3rd and long, and Dallas Turner makes just an individual great play for a sack. Great job. Great. So you give the front maybe a B. You give the linebackers, a couple nice plays, but nothing really stood out. So what? B minus. And the secondary without Malachi Moore, a couple decent plays, but never really were able to make a game-changing play. B minus. So overall, the team just kind of made it through a week, just kind of survived, just kind of put on a performance. White bread, mayonnaise, vanilla ice cream. It was just, I mean, you're never going to turn down white bread at a meal. You're never going to turn down vanilla ice cream for dessert, but it's not going to excite you either at all. So just not that good from the Alabama perspective. All right, let me hit some of these comments, and then we'll hit some of these SEC notes for the rest of to finish up this show. All right, was that our trap game? We talked about that with Cameron Rossi. James Ludeman, what's so interesting to me about overall in the SEC as a whole is it seems to not be overly dominated by one team. Georgia isn't all that either in the SEC East. Absolutely, and that makes me feel confident going forward. But for you Alabama fans, we need to be pulling for the Georgia Bulldogs because everything is lining up right now. I mean, if everything continues on this track, Alabama's going to be playing Georgia in the SEC championship with Washington undefeated, with maybe Florida State undefeated, with potentially Oklahoma undefeated. You're going to see other teams making cases for college football playoff spots. beating a number one team in the Georgia Bulldogs would be so great. It would really be helpful to get into the playoff. The story is the defense has improved week to week. Another one from James Ludeman. I don't know if that's the truth. I think the defense has certainly improved from the first 2 weeks. Absolutely, yes, definitely. But over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm not sure if they've improved that much. I think you've seen a little regression. Ole Miss week was probably its best week, in my opinion. Ole Miss week and Mississippi State week. You played good against A&M. You didn't play great. You played okay this past weekend against Arkansas. You didn't play great. So I don't know if it's been improvement week to week to week. All right, Cameron Rossi. Will Tommy Rees open up the freaking playbook? It's hard, Cameron. It's hard when you don't get consistent play out of your offensive line. It's hard when you don't get consistent accuracy out of your quarterback. I think those two factors make things extremely difficult for Tommy Rees to know what to call, what he can rely on, because he's trying to score points just like everybody else, but he wants to call plays that the players are going to execute in a high fashion and a great fashion. Let's continue. Cameron Rossi, who exactly are the alpha dogs on this year's team? Do we have any? I think Deontay Lawson is an alpha dog. I think Malachi Moore, while not athletically an alpha dog, oh my gosh, Malachi Moore mentally and intellectually and effort-wise has been an alpha dog. I think that, you've got alpha dogs in Dallas Turner athletically and Chris Braswell athletically as well. You just got to see it week in and week out. And really, this past week was just disappointing. And whether it was the lack of having Malachi Moore out there or not, I do think that this week was definitely disappointing. Cameron Rossi, I miss Sarkisian and Kiffin. I do too, definitely so. Cameron Rossi, were we this bad last year and Bryce just covered it all up? Yes and no. Yes. I mean, Bryce covered a multitude of sins for 2 years, a multitude of pass protection issues, and Bryce's ability to read defenses pre and post snap was absolutely uncanny. And I think that is something that you're really, really missing right now. I do think Milroe has grown in his role as the quarterback, but I don't think that he is quite up to the Bryce Young speed of reading a defense, knowing where to throw the football quickly, and working through progressions. So I think that Alabama's still a work in progress. You're still a work in progress week to week to week. Every week's going to be an adventure. This week's going to be a new adventure against the Tennessee Volunteers. Alabama, an 8.5-point favorite right now. We'll talk about that later in the week. All right, so here we go. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, general points about the SEC and about everything else. Hey, buddy, let's not chew on any of that, please. My dog, usually I put her away, but on Mondays we leave her out because she's been away. She's been put in a crate since I was talking to Nick Saban in the Naylor Stone Media Room. You can cover all that coverage at BamaCentral.com. Our friends Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon as well in the Naylor Stone Media Room, covering Nick Saban, Jalen Milroe, and Deontay Lawson. All the coverage right there at BamaCentral.com and always on BamaCentral on the social medias as well. So we let the dog stay out during the show on Mondays because she's already been in the crate for a good portion of the time on Monday, but sometimes she chews on things and distracts me. All right, so Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is hurt for the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia Bulldogs also had a slow win. And look, while Alabama fans are feeling like this Bama team is maybe not as good as they've ever seen, and now it has all these problems, X, Y, Z, and ABC, and we've already outlined a lot of them, the Georgia fans are feeling the same thing. The Georgia fans are saying, oh, this team ain't as good as the last 2 years. I don't know if we're going to three-peat X, Y, Z, and ABC. That Carson Beck fella, I don't like Mike Bobo. I don't really think the defense has been as good as they have been. They're going through the same exact things. Now, difference is they didn't play Texas in the second week. And you can talk about whatever you want to, but their schedule is just not as strong. So they haven't been as challenged. They win this weekend up in Nashville, 37-20, and they're dealing with the exact same things. This team doesn't look like it has the killer instinct. Oh, gosh. It's just the way college football is these days. I think it's just the way, with the transfer portal and NIL being as much of a factor, I think it's harder to get the players up each and every week. And you saw that this past week with Alabama and Arkansas. Alabama probably a little bit blinded by the 2-4, now 2-5 record. Lost 4 in a row. Oh, we're surely going to whip this team. And they were on track to whipping this team. Just unfortunate taking their foot off the gas. Georgia, Brock Bowers being hurt. News today, Brock Bowers is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, according to some. According to Brett McMurphy, that might be the rest of the season. It'd be a huge loss. It would be a huge loss for the Georgia Bulldogs to not have Brock Bowers. I do think he is a top 3 player in college football these days. And look, if Alabama loses a top 3 player, it's going to be a challenge. And so it's going to be a challenge for the Georgia Bulldogs as well. I think that they are super talented, but it's going to be a huge issue for them to overcome. Luckily for Georgia, they are off this week. They're taking on Florida in the cocktail party next week. Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss. And then Georgia Tech, I think, is their last 4 games. So they're going to have a couple of challenges. Missouri's a little better than average. Ole Miss, I think, is a good little football team. I think Florida is not good. I think Florida is a bad football team, and that's going to be a bloodbath that Georgia will win handily. And then they're going to beat Georgia Tech as well. So we'll see. Hopefully, look, from an Alabama perspective, you've got to continue to root for Georgia because beating a number 1 overall team in the nation on the last weekend is going to be your best resume booster. Like, yes, winning the SEC championship will be your second best resume booster. But if you can win the SEC championship over a number 1 Georgia Bulldogs team, that's going to be really the cherry on top that gets you into the college football playoff. All right, Tennessee beats Texas A&M this past weekend. Obviously, all our eyes are on Tennessee this week as the Vols are coming into town this coming on Saturday at 2:30. But Tennessee is got their own struggles as well. Tennessee's defense and special teams really shouldered the load and carried everything this past weekend. Big old punt return touchdown. They had a punt that pinned the Aggies back, followed by a 3-and-out, and then had a 39-40-yard punt return for a touchdown that ultimately ended the game, intercepting Max Johnson twice in the game. I think Tennessee's defense is for real. And like if you talk to us on a Monday, all right, here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com, I am feeling like it's going to be a low-scoring, just stomach in knots kind of a football game this coming up weekend. I think that both defenses look very, very good, Alabama and Tennessee. And you've got strong special teams of both sides. You have questionable offenses on both sides. So I'm feeling like it's going to be 20-14, 20-17, somewhere in that range right now. Obviously, my thoughts can change throughout the rest of the week as I watch more Tennessee football, trying to get you ready for Football Friday. But Tennessee's defense and special teams carrying the load and beating A&M to Jimbo Fisher, his job. I don't know if it was in jeopardy 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think it's starting to get in jeopardy now. Auburn going on the road and taking a big old butt whooping from LSU. If you heard us on Football Friday, all of us taking the LSU Tigers. 48 points given up by the Auburn Tigers. Not good at all. But subsequently, Auburn's offense is terrible. Auburn's offense, they cannot score with anyone. Now, I say that Alabama's going to go down to Jordan-Hare Stadium and find themselves in a 14-13 game, and it's going to be just disgusting. You know what happens over there in West Georgia. But Hugh Freeze, here's my point, and here's my main thing that I'm thinking about. Hugh Freeze has run this talking point out after every loss this year and after several wins as well. Oh, we're just not good enough. We're just not where we want to be offensively. We're just not talented enough. I think at some point the players get tired of hearing, oh, man, from the coaching standpoint, and I think it hurt Mark Stoops this week. The players just aren't good enough. We can't win with these guys. You got 85 guys in the locker room, and you have to build their confidence up as much as possible. And for them to hear each and every week, well, we just got to get our guys in here. We just got to recruit a little bit better. We just got to give us a little more time. We're going to get a quarterback in here. We're going to get help on the offensive line. We're just going to get some more playmakers in here. I think that wears down the team, and it looks like Auburn. Granted, you're going to give Hugh Freeze more than just one season, obviously, duh. But I think the Auburn Tigers, the family, is a little bit getting tired of hearing just how untalented they are. Now, they are untalented. Yeah, that's the truth. And I often like a coach that operates in truth, just like Mark Stoops did last week, operating in truth, saying, Georgia bought a lot of their good players. You guys can donate, and we can buy players too. But the Kentucky players didn't take kindly. Didn't play too inspired this past weekend for Mark Stoops. I think that, you've got to be really careful with midseason narratives, with midseason excuses. You've got to instead, Hugh Freeze and Mark Stoops, Put the blame on yourself. And then in the offseason, in December, when the season's over, say, well, you know what? I tried. I could have done X and Y and Z better. But on the other hand, we got to get better players in here. When the season's over, after your players have given their all for you, after your players have worked all season and played all your games, at this point, I don't know how much. Like, look, we all know how you all feel about Auburn. But if I was wearing an Auburn uniform, obviously I'd be trying my hardest. But goodness gracious, to hear each and every week that my coach thinks, oh, we're just not good enough. The players, my teammates, myself aren't talented. We can't win with me. I think that wears a team down. And so Hugh Freeze and Mark Stoops both suffering from their own comments, in my opinion. And so I think that hurt Auburn this past weekend. Lastly, last comment of the day, it's time to respect Missouri. Will Missouri beat Georgia? I'm not going to say that, but it's time to give them respect. Eli Drinkwitz is coaching his bleeping butt off. He is coaching his butt off. They're in each and every single game. Yeah, they lost to LSU, and they probably should have won that game at home. But they are in each and every game. Brady Cook, good little quarterback, not great, good little quarterback. He's good enough to win with. And Missouri is playing inspired football. That's the difference. Look, Eli Drinkwitz a couple weeks ago in his post-game press conference was like, I'm sick of everybody booing our starting quarterback. He can play. He's a good quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. And whether that's true or not, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Brady Cook heard that comment and heard his coach saying, oh, man, my coach thinks I'm good. My coach thinks that, he's defending me in the media. It inspires your kids. Look, these are not professional athletes who are going out there each and every day. Granted, ultimately they are playing for money. But really, at this stage, even as 18 to 22-year-olds, you got to be motivated. Coach Saban talking about motivation a lot this year, interior versus exterior motivation a lot this year. And I think it's important to be giving the positive energy to your players. And this kind of goes into the last thing I want to say about Alabama fans reacting to each and every week's game. This team is horrible. This team's so bad. These guys stink. The coaches are terrible. Tommy Rees is no good. Now, Tommy Rees, all right, you're allowed to criticize whoever you want to criticize on the coaching staff. They're adults. They're adults and they're professionals. But I think that there needs to be some semblance of the Nick Saban appreciate the wins, appreciate the victories. Think back, 07, 08, 09, 10 and 11, when you're playing close games and you're just happy that Alabama is back in nationally relevant games. Alabama is on national TV, and Alabama is playing well and winning on national TV. You think about the Arkansas game in 2007. They come to Tuscaloosa, and they're the favorite, and Alabama wins on a last-second touchdown pass to Matt Caddell. You can once again read about that on BamaCentral.com. My man Austin Hannon writing about that particular game last week. Think about how you felt after that game. You were relieved. You were happy. You weren't sitting there talking about, oh, these guys stink. They ain't no good. They're terrible. They're not going to win a national championship. Well, no bleep, they're not going to win a national championship in 2007. And in 08, when they went 12-0, you were just ecstatic. That team was not the most talented Nick Saban team ever. You were ecstatic. Okay. You've been spoiled by winning. Of course you want to see the standard. You want to go 3 and out on defense every single drive. You want to drive the field on offense every single drive. You want to put up 56 points. Thank you, Bryce Young, every single drive. Tua Tagovailoa all the time. You want to get your pick sixes all over the place. Thank you, Mika Fitzpatrick and Eddie Jackson and Marlon Humphrey, XYZ, ABC. But at some point, you just got to realize this game is hard. This game is hard. Nick Saban is great at it. He won his 200th career game right here in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. And did anybody talk about it? Not really. The focus was, oh, this team has miles to go. Oh, this team is so lucky. Oh, this team's not going to win a national title. So if they don't win a national title, okay. Is your life any better or worse or different because of it? No, not really. You're still clocking in to work on Monday. And granted, I have a very fun job, and you work probably much harder than I do. But life still goes on. The sun comes up in the east and sets in the west every single day, whether the Crimson Tide wins or loses. You got to appreciate what you have in the consistency that Nick Saban has built. Whether they end up winning a national championship or not, the positive energy behind the program can go so far. The belief inside the program can go so far. You can be like Auburn, you can be like Kentucky and downplay your players after big losses, or you can instead just say, you know what? Our guys played hard. Caden Proctor missed a couple of things. Jalen Milroe missed a couple of things, but Alabama still won, and you're moving on to next week because it's just a week-to-week game. Any given Sunday, any given Saturday, any given Thursday night, it's just a week-to-week game. And so we will wrap up the program right here with that comment. I encourage everybody to be more positive and enjoy the wins, embrace the wins. Now, of course, if Alabama loses, that's a little bit different. You heard the post-Texas game. I was unhappy with a lot of things. And I do think it's okay to point out the areas of that Alabama needs to improve on. But I think you need to keep the balance between areas of improvement, areas of needed improvement, and hey, Alabama won. We're moving on. Roll Tide. Keep it moving. So for all that, I appreciate everybody watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. You can subscribe, rate, review the program on any of those podcast platforms. I would really, really appreciate it. Send the show to a friend. Tell a friend about the show. Because we're going to continue to do it each and every day, every weekday. Sometimes I'll take a Tuesday off from here and there. I know I took last Tuesday off, and I apologize for that. I just needed a little bit of a day last Tuesday. I will be back next Tuesday with my friend Tyler White. Tyler White from WDHN News in Dothan, down at the covering sports in the Wiregrass area. He's going to join me. Tyler White is an Alabama alum, and we ran into each other on the field on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to catching up with him and getting his thoughts on this Alabama team. You can join us tomorrow for Tyler White. You can follow us on all the social medias at Joe Gaither 6. Send me a friend request. Follow anywhere on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on YouTube. I'll connect with you. I'd love to connect with you. We can debate all kinds of sports, Alabama sports or sports in general. If you are not an Alabama fan, I welcome you as well, because it doesn't always all have to be about Alabama. But this is BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com, the Sports Illustrated home for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We want to encourage you to follow Blue Collar Unplugged. Oh my gosh, basketball season is right around the corner, and I cannot wait to lose my brain about basketball season. I'm working on a little project that I'm going to put out next week. I think you will get a laugh out of it. That is the ultimate goal. But it's going to be a lot of fun the rest of the week. We'll talk to Tyler White. We'll do Alabama basketball SEC Media Days on Wednesday, and we'll continue the rest of the week as we start getting ready for the Tennessee Vols, the third Saturday in October. I cannot wait for it. You guys know that Tennessee is one of those teams, that just drives me crazy. So hopefully it'll be a great Saturday for you and yours. Look, we'll be back tomorrow. It was a lot of fun today on the Joe Gaither Show. Thanks to Cameron Rossi and James Ludeman joining me on the comment section on Facebook. You guys can do that any day that you like. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.